Good evening and welcome to episode number 7 of the Sunday at the Inn. Tonight is going to be a bit of an overview of the Unity meeting that we, sort of set up and attended on Sunday, the 28th of May. I'm obviously here with Richard, my good friend. How are you doing, Richard? You okay?
I'm fine, sir. I'm fine. All good. Uh, Feeling very white pilled.
Isn't it just? It is just a bit, isn't it? It's been a while since there's been such positive news and such a positive feeling around the movement, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's good, and it's good. And massive credit to you, mate. Massive credit to you because you pulled this together. People keep patting me on the back, but to be quite honest, all I did was attend. Um, you're the man that put it together, and people should recognise that, which they are. I think everyone knows that this was your doing, mate.
Oh well, as always, I'm humble, Joe. I don't take compliments very well, but again, it's like you just said, Richard. It really did rely on people being willing to attend and um, the reaction that I got initially when speaking to people about this and whether this would be something that everyone would be interested in trying to do. The response was really incredible. And it was an individual thing where over the years I've been really fortunate to become friends with a lot of people within the movement. Some of them, with a lot of influence and with not a lot of influence and followings and things. Some people do different work. Some people, they do streams and an online sort of culture. And quite recently there's been this huge upsurge in getting out on the street and actually doing, street movements and public protests, static protests, and that kind of thing. So I kind of saw this opportunity to maximize everything that we're doing. I kind of saw it as that it was good, but it needs to be better. Like some of the protests that we've had recently, especially INNUK, was one of the ones that really stuck in my mind. With there must have been 300 people there. I would have thought probably more, wasn't there? I would have thought
Yeah,
it was
roughly.
good.
You're
It
right.
was a
It's
good
good.
number, but we need bigger numbers. We need that number really to be 10 times that number and then 10 times that number. Really, we need to get into the hundreds of thousands of people standing against these issues that apply to our country at the moment. And it was just glaringly obvious to me that in order for us to win this, we need to work together. If we don't work together, we're going to lose. We are, we're so fractured and marginalized. And while individual organizations and individuals themselves, content creators, and do great work, they do, and we do, but it, even what we're doing with the sexualization of children and trying to inform people on the streets, there's only limited amounts that we can do with the numbers of people that we have, and that number simply needs to be much bigger. And we need to have a lot more public support. So anyway, as I say, I contacted several people to begin with. Yeah, members of Patriotic Alternative. There were members from political parties, from the National Housing Party UK, from the British Democrats. I invited primarily people who work with on the ground stuff. So anything to do with leafleting or protests or anything that brings you out onto the street. That was my thought and my focus to begin with. I thought that was quite a good basis to work from. Otherwise you'd end up inviting 1,000 people, and it just it would become unconstructive, I think, in a lot of ways. But whereas this, you have a bit more of a focus on what exactly it is, the issues that you're trying to sort of work with. So I put the invitation out to about 50 people. 25 agreed to come. Out of those 25, about 5 or 6 dropped out within the day or the day before, which is sort of expected because you always have illness and family things going on and whatever. So it was a really great turnout. I don't know. Do you want to give your sort of accounting from this? Because I'm a bit biased because I have to think it was
No,
good.
I mean, I think the move towards unity across the board has been growing organically anyway. I mean, there's been a lot of cross pollination, to use one of your favourite words, Joe, of people attending each other's protests, etc. So I think that there was the general feeling there anyway. But this gave it the opportunity to be formalised in some way. And obviously, there was an initial groups that you've contacted, but the the general feeling of this is unity, and unity means everybody within the movement. So I think it's got to be stated right from now that this is open to all groups. Nobody's barred from this. It wouldn't be unity if that was the case. So in the future, if there are other groups and individuals, etc., who wish to be part and wish to get on board the unity train, if you like, what I would say to them is this: that this is a patchwork coalition, as I've called it. That's my word, not my favourite word. This is a patchwork coalition, which means that each group individually has its own modus operandi and its own operational integrity and retains that. We come together for joint operations, for joint ventures, for joint endeavours, and we pool our resources and our expertise for those. But we remain independent entities. So that's why I describe it as a patchwork quilt, in the fact that everyone's different, but we're all stitched together by the cause, by the what we're trying to achieve. So this is open to a lot more organisations. Hopefully, will get on board. We have been approached already by other organisations that wish to get on board. So this is only a positive thing. As I say, this was happening organically anyway, and I think what's happened on Sunday, the 28th of May, was it was the start. It's not the end by a long way, but it's the start.
Yeah, I'm pretty blown away by what's happened afterwards, to be honest with you, because I always hope for the best, expect the worst with these things.
Mm.
It's I knew that it was a massive ask, and honestly, I wasn't really sure it was going to work on the day. I didn't know, but I just couldn't believe people's willingness to um be humble in their apologies and the mistakes that they've made was one of the really big notes that I took from the day. And I know that a lot of the
And
people,
that's all of us, Joe.
yeah,
That's all
all
of
of
us.
us, yeah,
Even
yeah,
I've got to hold my hand up and say, yeah, I've made them same mistakes, but we have to drop the grudges because it's getting us nowhere, and we have to move forward.
yeah. And it was incredible. It really was. I mean, the first 20 minutes or so, it was what was expected, and there was a lot of kind of heated discussions, I suppose, with previous transgressions and things like that. But very, very quickly, within the first half an hour, really, by the time that people had started speaking, and we set it up in a way that everyone had 5 minutes to speak as an individual and give their ideas. And I sort of put a bit of an outline of an itinerary of just points to try and stick with. Obviously we're focusing on the ground work. So is there anything that you would or could bring to the table that would help another organization who is doing something similar to you, or back and forth? Which worked really, really well. John Lawrence from the from the National Housing Party UK, he was offering to do mentoring with canvassing door to door with regards to sort of political movements and that kind of thing, which was amazing. What a great thing for John to offer. You had the British Democrats there. You had Jim Lithwaite, who, other than being, an absolute font of knowledge on most things in the world, he's also well seasoned and a very professional politician, and does very well. And he brought loads to the table. PA brought loads to the table. And people might find that quite strange with the sort of hostile nature that has been between, the INN and PA and myself and whatever. We all know there's been a lot of water under the bridge, and it just comes to the time where you need to be grown-ups about things and decide whether someone actually, funnily enough, said to me the other day, will it be the case that you're on your deathbed and you'll say, oh, well, I'm getting punched in the face by my carer, but, at least I, held my grudge with that nationalist organization 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And it's true, are we really going to care about all of this stuff, in 5 years' time, or are we going to care about the future of our children, which is why we're all here? We are all lovers of our country. We all love our country and we all love our people, and we've virtually all got skin in the game and want to see a future that is safe for our people. It's not too much to ask. And when you strip it back to that and make that the value of why people are standing together, it all of a sudden becomes very easy, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like my grandchildren's futures are on the line, as well as other people's offspring. It's personal, and and as such, because it's personal, we have to deal with it like that. We have to work with anybody who 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 is prepared to fight that fight with us.
Especially when you could slip a razor blade between,
Oh yeah,
there's
I
just
would. I wouldn't start talking about razor blades, Joe. We have got a very delicate piece at the moment, but yeah.
yeah,
No,
definitely.
seriously, no. I know where
Yeah,
you're coming. A
you know.
fag paper might be more appropriate,
Yeah,
but
that
yeah,
would be better. Yeah,
you
but
could put a
yeah,
fag paper in between most of the ideology and most of the thoughts of the people. It
of
really
course.
has, because does come down to personalities, or has done. That's been a lot of the bar. But to be honest with you, you don't have to like everybody you work with. I mean, even when you're in the same party, when I was in the BNP, um, there's not everybody I got along with. I can remember that I didn't get along very well with Eddie Butler. Didn't mean he wasn't the best election officer the BNP ever had, because he was.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and I can recognise that skill, even though on a personal level we didn't get on. And that's how people have to look at it. I mean, I'm sure there are people around that table on Sunday that don't particularly like me. That's okay, as long as you can work with me. Um, and vice versa. There are people around the table. It's the way it goes. You're not going to like everybody. If you go out to work, you're not going to like everybody you have to work with.
But
It's
you remain professional
you're,
and you do your job and
yeah, you do what you've got to do.
yeah, absolutely. And the thing is, you can always not interact with that person if you don't get on. I mean, it's just we can all be part of this idea and yeah, like sorry, I feel really stupid having to say it, but you don't have to tag someone and insult them. You can just don't talk. It's fine. Just carry on with what it is, whatever it is that you're doing. It's the same at protests. If you don't get on with someone at a protest, obviously, just don't interact with each other. Just find somewhere else to be where you don't need to. And like I say, it's a massively complicated situation, but then the solutions to it are really very simple as well, which is kind of what I found when bringing all this together. It seemed like this monumental, difficult task, but really, when you write it down on paper and you put our values down and say, look, this is what we need to achieve, and this is how we need to think about getting there. It's everyone's on board with that, and they were, and what a fantastic day. I mean, everyone
Yeah.
that was there and remained, that listened to what everyone else had to say is on board with this. And
And there's some great ideas. I mean, once the initial sort of like bits were out of the way, um, the ideas that were coming forth were great. It was extremely constructive, but you can see straight away the benefit of having all those brains around the table, because none of us have got all the answers, and having that sort of like that number of people that can brainstorm things and put ideas into the pot and add a little bit and add a little bit. It was just that was really constructive. That was really white pilling for me, because it was exactly what we need. I mean, we're going to need a multifaceted approach to win our country back and to save our people. And you need all those skills, you need all that expertise. And it's just great to think that that can come together, even if it's just project by project, protest by protest, whichever. But to see all those skills and expertise, the potential of that, coming together.
It's
That
amazing. It is.
warms the heart.
And it's so coincidental to how well it all works as well. You know, we're all sat around the table and it's like, you know, PA have done such a great job with like demographics and raising awareness about that over the years. We deal primarily with the This Ends Now campaign, you know, stopping the sexualization of children. No, you know, it's removed from this, but this is someone else who pops into my mind. You've got Alec Yerbury. He's doing his protests. This detached, but you know, he's focusing on the unions, which I think is really really strong, and I think it's a really good move. You've obviously got you've got four political parties that, I mean, two of them attended the last meeting. There's actually going to be four political parties at the next meeting, along with five so far. Five of the names have come forward in the past couple of days that have actively contacted me to ask if they can come to the next meeting and what they've got to bring. You know, this is how big this is getting. You know, I'm not even having to chase people anymore. People are they're coming forward and they want to be a part of this, and these are people that are bringing legal aspects, you know, so that we can actually start fighting court cases for our people. You know, when we actually have discrimination against English people or white people, or, you know, if we, whatever it is, we can then start making a plan to actually start defending these people properly, as you know other groups are in our country at the moment that, you know, just get funded for that, you know, where we don't get any help at all. We might actually start be able to form institutions and operations that can protect our people as well, you know, and everyone that is part of this. You know, it's incredible. So I mean, of those four political parties, I mean, just as an example of one of the things that were agreed on the day, which I think is just incredible, that from April the 1st until May the 7th, which is electoral periods, nobody does any protests, no one does anything, but we just support the political parties and anybody that's standing in any of the constitutions that are within their locality. Okay, so that would be the entirety of everyone. And that would end up branching out into the truther movements, into the, you know, the 15-minute city guys. You know, you've also got the Liberation Party that's coming up shortly as well, which I think is going to, you know, do good work. And I would really like to reach out to them at some point and bring them over. You know, so, I mean, that would be five, you know, reasonable political parties and masses of organizations. You know, I mean, we can really start doing something that's going to make a difference. You know, it really will.
It's about bringing about real political change. And the one thing that's
Oh, we appear to have lost Rich. Oh, and he's right back again. Here he is, straight in. Here he is.
sorry,
I thought you'd
sorry,
abandoned me.
I had a Richard Vobes moment then, didn't I?
That's it,
Um,
man.
so one of the things that my
I bet that's
thoughts
thrown you
trains
right
goes
off there, hasn't
totally thrown me.
it? There's nothing worse than that happening, mate. There really isn't. Um,
I was just in full flow then as well. No, but it's we can bring together all these skills. I don't, you know, talk joke because I haven't got a clue what I was saying.
yeah, I mean, I
It'll come
think the
back to me
point
in a bit.
that you were coming to was the skill sets of everyone coming together, um, is what we need, is nearly there. You know, I mean, I think we can get to the point where we can actually start bringing a clout that actually starts really getting heard by the upper echelons of society, which I know that it does anyway, because a lot of our talking points end up bleeding up there anyway. But it's the actual, it's the, now I don't want to, you know, we want to be a threat to the status quo, not in a, not
Yeah.
obviously not in a violent way or anything like that, but
No.
you know, we want to start becoming something that's serious and that gets taken seriously.
Yeah, that's what I've remembered now where I
Good
was
man,
going with that.
Gomber.
It was about that. It was the fact that tactically, and I think Jim Lethwaite brought this up, and it's something that I've said in the past as well. Tactically, a one size fits all organisation is not the way to go, for the simple reason that it's easier to nobble, it's easier to take out. Um, Having multiple organisations in this patchwork coalition stitched together, all differently organised, all with their own modus operandi, etc., that makes us much more difficult to oppose. And if those all of those different organisations can coordinate and cooperate when they need to, that makes us a hell of an opposition, a hell of an opposition for the establishment and for the left to overcome. And we've used the expression before that get them playing whack-a-mole, and that's the thing, that it's the different approaches we've talked about, it's the different skill sets and things that can be brought to the table, but it's also having all those different organizations, each separate in their own way, makes it much more difficult to nobble, infiltrate, and disrupt, because they don't know where we're coming from next and what we're doing next. And that
Yeah,
that's
and
that's going to be a tactical advantage to us for the first time.
yeah, it's going to be really hard for them to use the usual sort of attacks and slurs and all the rest of it, isn't it? You know,
Yeah.
when we're all there together standing, it's just not going to work for them anymore. It's really not.
No, it just makes it so much more difficult for them, because they can attack one thing, but then there's all these other things. And as I say, because we all have differences in our modus operandi, in our sort of organizational thing, makes it so much more difficult for them to counter. And that's great. That's only for the best.
Absolutely. And, you know, not everyone would fit into the INN, I don't
No.
think, you know, not everyone would just sort of slot into PA or whatever. But what the
Yeah.
idea is to foster an environment where it's welcoming to everyone and there's a place for
There's a
everyone
place for
and
everyone,
everyone.
absolutely.
Yeah, everyone has an opportunity to be here, you know, and not to feel unwelcome wherever they are in whatever organization it is.
And we also we've got the, to use, to bring your favourite thing into it, cross pollination. We've got people from, we've got a member of our organisation that is also working very closely, with is an officer in another organisation. We've got somebody from a political party who's a prospective member in our organisation. So we're starting to see this sort of cross pollination of people as well. So you could well see people that are actually part of a couple of groups, maybe a political
Absolutely.
party and an activist group and things like that. So as we're starting to see this cross pollination of people, and we'll start to see that with activism in an area. I know that my son, who lives in South Wales, is a bit isolated for the INN stuff. He's already talked about contacting Joe Marsh down there and seeing how he can work with him. So that will again.
Brilliant. Yeah. This is it. I mean, I'm kind of happy to say because it's pretty much confirmed in my head that I'm going to go down this direction. But I think I'm going to stand next year for the BDP in Worcester.
Mhm.
So see how that goes. You know, it puts another nationalist. You know, I don't think a nationalist has stood in Worcester for the past 50 years or so. So it would be, it would be a first for a long time. So we'll see how it goes. You know, and that would be, again, cross pollination between ourselves and the British Democratic
Well,
Party.
you've got your election officer.
Yeah, buddy. And the support has been incredible. I mean, we don't know what will come from it, but hope for the best, expect the worst. You know, all we can do is just try at these things. And I don't see the political route as being, impossible to go down. I mean, look at what's happening in Italy at the moment. They've got, a primarily fascist, government at the moment. So it's not impossible for us to have a little bit
We
more of a reasonable kind of.
Yeah, we shouldn't give up on any route. I mean, it's we should keep trying. It's defeatist to say it's all over on that score. If you're asking my personal opinion, I think the political route is going to be difficult. Um, but at a local level in particular, I think that there's still possibilities of getting councillors elected. particularly with the lower turnouts. General elections are always going to be more difficult because, one, the higher turnout, plus most people are sort of transfixed on blue team, red team, and picking the next government. And it's always notoriously difficult for um, an outside party to break through there. Ask Nigel Farage, how many seats did he win in a general election with all the publicity and all the backing that he had? He did
Yeah,
well
did
in
Albert.
proportional representation, but he didn't do so great in general elections. So it's a much more difficult route, and you have to build your base first, of course. You have to build your strongholds. You have to build a few councillors somewhere to give you even
Yeah,
a fighting chance of a general election seat, which only comes around every 5 years.
yeah. Which is kind of the timestamp that I put on things. You know, I think we have to be thinking in the timeline of the 2030 agenda or Agenda 2030. Yeah, we've got 7 years. They really want to have ultimate control over everyone. You know, by the end of this, there won't be a nation for us all to fight over and be nationalists in. You know, we're all going to be slaves. We're all going to be in pods. We're all going to be eating bug burgers. You know, um, I mean, seriously, you know, this is the way that the world is going, and we have to get back control of this. I mean, you know, it doesn't matter what your gripe is. I mean, you know, even if you look at demographics, I mean, that's something that needs to be fought immediately. You know, none of these things are things that can be put on the back burner anymore. You know, we
No,
need
and
to fight for them. So, you know, that's what this is about. So, back to the Unity
I was
Project.
just going to say, yeah,
You know,
we've segued, haven't we, Joe?
we have a little bit, but you know, it's all relevant as well. You know, it
It
is all
is, mate. Yeah,
relevant. And you know, going back to it again, um, what I will do is I know that people are going to have a lot of questions while watching this, and it's obviously pre-recorded. So I will honor that I will be there in the chat on the night, and if there are any questions that you would like to ask, I'll be there in real time to answer any of them. Because there will be a lot of questions, and people are going to want to know sort of what's going on, and I'm available and on Telegram. So, you know, if anyone does want to ask, or they're confused or concerned about anything, please do get in touch, and I will answer whatever questions that you have. But I mean, ultimately, this is about putting all the beefs to bed and moving forward and trying to do something good. And what came out of the end of it is that everyone in the room at the end of it agreed to publish the meeting and for it not to remain. I mean, it's a private meeting, but we decided to make it non-secret. That you know, we published sort of what happened in there, and we have decided that the best way to go forward is that we will do a sort of coalition protest where we all work together and we do a bit of a test run to see if we work together and we put all of our resources together, will it make a difference? You know, will this unified front, you know, sort of do something? So we've agreed that a good national issue is the RAF Scampton issue that's coming up very shortly, where they're going to be moving in hundreds of migrants into the army base in the next couple of months. So we are going to be protesting this heavily. We're going to build up as much momentum behind it as possible. We want to get as many boots on the ground as possible. And yeah, we're going to see how we can get this sort of moving forward. There'll obviously be literature and promos coming out soon. So yeah, I mean, if you really are a nationalist and you really care, like, now is the time to get involved. It really is. You know, now's the time to put aside childish things and get involved. Come and get stuck in. Come to RAF Scampton. Come and meet us. We're going to have an amazing day planned out. As long as you can get yourself close to there, we will make sure that everything else is dealt with thereafter. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to back me up on this, Rich, you know, but I just think this is really important, that this is the time now to get involved.
The time for dithering in the doorway is over. The time for leaving it to somebody else to save your children is over. It's now time for you to get up and stand up and be counted. Right? If you don't want to join the INN, fine. Join something. Do something. We need men of action. all across the country, all these different organisations need men of action. We've heard all the words, we've heard all the chitter chatter in Telegram. It's all done now. We need action now. So stop talking and start walking.
Well said, Rich. Very harsh, but well said, and I completely agree with you. I really do. You know, I mean, I will not have to explain to my grandchildren why I did nothing and why I just sat here and allowed this to happen and allowed our country to fall to such a state. No way. You know, I'll be able to hold my head up high and say, yeah, okay, you know, we cocked up a bit at the start, and you know, but at the end of it, we gave it our all. You know, we all did. We all stuck in together. You know, and you know, if we lose together. If we win together, and that needs to be also an important point for the future as well. You know, any failings that we do have, we need to wear them together. You know, it can't just be put on one organization. It was their fault because they did this or they didn't do that or whatever. You know, now is the time to have your input. Now is your time to all of these people with all these opinions on Telegram about how things are meant to be done. Well, now is your opportunity to get involved and
Let's
show
go.
us. Please come and get involved. Come and show us. Come and talk to us. We're here. We're willing. We will listen. You know, if your ideas are good, we will implement them.
These are positive times. These are positive times. Get involved. Don't be left on the sidelines.
Come on, guys. Come on. We can do this. We can. We can do this. And we can
it's
win.
the start. It's the start of something big. So get on board. Yes. Anyway, it's about half an hour, Joe. I think that's done.
I think that's good enough. But
I think
again,
we've covered everything.
I can't back that enough, man. Rich, just get involved, guys. Please, come on, come and get in touch. We're on Telegram, t.me/Independent Nationalist Network. Our YouTube is the same. You'll find us if you search on there. My personal tag on Telegram is at Anglo Joe, at Richard Lumby. By all means, just get in touch. Yeah, and let's point you in the right direction and get you out on the street and let's win this. All right, guys. Thanks ever so much. Thanks for listening. And again, any questions, just fire away, and I'll be happy to answer in the chat. All right, guys. Have a wonderful evening, and thank you to everyone who attended the meeting as well. You
absolutely
really proud of everyone. You did your country good. All right, guys. Have a great evening. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye now. Bye.